Dude, selling without selling today. Oh my goodness, we get to talk. Excited about this. First off, friends, I am Robby T with Hatch Coaching. Matt McKenzie is a dear friend, a brother of mine, and one of, if not the most brilliant ISA in the country. Matt, I want you to introduce yourself in a moment here once we get rolling and tell people about yourself. And please don't be humble. Tell people all the good stuff about you, including the fact that you're a drummer and you got to play at Red Rocks. You're kind of a boss. Before we get into it, just so you all know, you can definitely drop some questions in the Q&A or in the chat. I should be able to see both. Let's see here. If you have anything, drop it in there. We'll go probably the full hour because Matt and I, when we start talking, we let it rip. And I told Matt about 5 minutes before this, I have no agenda for this today. This is just going to be true, authentic, off the cuff thoughts on to sell without selling without selling. But Matt, enough people know me. Matt, tell the people all the good word about yourself, man. Who are you? Where are you from? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm grateful to be here. Always good to hang with Robby and chat about how do we not treat people like a bunch of D-holes, I'm going to say it.
Note number one. Oh, I'll say it. Don't be
cool. In this day and age, you have to separate yourself. So anyways, we'll get into it. But yeah, so like Robby said, I'm an ISA. I've been doing it for a little over 5 years. When I got into the business, frankly, I was just like dial, conversations, meetings, whatever. I didn't have any structure until I went to a conference, met Robby, and started coaching with him. And it took my ISA world and flipped it on its head. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. So
thanks, man.
And then since then, we've just developed a role. There's now a department within our team. So I hail from Denver, Colorado. I work on the team, the Jordan Terrell team. And we have an ISA department, a lead generation department that's not only ISAs, but also past client care people. So we're really, really excited about what we're building. We generate about 600 to 700 leads a month. And yeah, I'm also responsible for running our partnership with Zillow. We're in Flex as well. So yeah, just taken the role and expanded it. Robby mentioned I'm a drummer. Yes, I play drums in a band called Red Rocks Worship. We did get the opportunity to play Red Rocks Amphitheater about a month and a half ago or so. Yeah, and new album dropping in February. So yep.
I'm excited. Echo Holy is one of my faves, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. So
it's one of my workout songs. All right, Matt. So obviously you're an ISA. You're helping lead the team as well now. You maybe talk about that for a moment. So you're not just an ISA in production. You're doing a lot of other things. Maybe rip on that for a second.
Yeah. So my seat, the seat that I'm responsible for is our director of lead generation. What that is a seat that sits on our leadership team. Yeah. And our leadership team is comprised of 4 different people: Jordan, who's the team owner, CEO; Emily, who is our director of finance; and Aaron, who is our director of operations. So the 4 of us oversee the entire company. And that is a once a week meeting where we come together for an hour and a half. And it is the most efficient thing in our organization. We have a structure to it. We have a plan for every meeting. We're solving problems. We spend most of our time solving big problems in the organization. So
as we all know, there are big problems everywhere.
There are big problems everywhere all the time. If guys, I mean, seriously, if you're in a business and you don't operate like everything's on fire, you should be worried.
yeah. It's on fire. You just don't see it, or you don't know it.
Better to see the fire than to know it's creeping and then to not know it's there. So but yeah, so I'm responsible for really a couple key metrics on our team. That's appointments met from company leads, and buyer and seller agreements signed. Sure. Along with I have some responsibility for what goes under contract. So helping coach our agents to success with clients. So a lot of that comes just naturally through the fact that I run the Zillow program and I have a lot of interaction with the agents through that. And I encourage agents not to only operate like we do in the Zillow program, like not to just operate that with Zillow leads, but to operate that with every lead that they get, whether it's a Sphere, ISA lead, Zillow lead, whatever it is. You have to have 5-star service in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
You have to separate yourself. In my market, there is over 30,000 real estate agents. Good freaking night. And if you do the math, I mean, if you're in Denver and you're on this webinar, go on the MLS right now and see how many homes are on the market. Not many. So there are very few that actually sell homes, and there will be agents this year who don't sell a home. In fact, I interviewed one the other day, hasn't sold a home yet this year.
Ooh,
so it's going to happen. But what we're going to talk about today, I'm sure, Robby, we're going to get into it, like how to sell without selling. Like this is one of the key components to actually having business and opportunity right now.
Well, Matt, I am honored to have you as a guest. Honored to rip on this today for the next 50 minutes. What's going to be really cool is this will also be uploaded as another podcast in the Leads Geeks podcast. And I want to bring experts like you on to share thoughts and ideas. Let's start here today, Matt. So it is 2 days before Thanksgiving in 2022, because some people might listen to this. We got to timestamp it for folks. And it's really interesting because we are about, I would describe it, halfway through a massive shift in real estate. A shift where we went from what I like to call the fake market. Okay. A fake market that I like to, we've talked about why it happened, the convergence of factors that, millennial demand, they were getting older. Ryan Serhant's description of COVID is my favorite. It was a billboard to own a better home, because when everything hits the fan, your home is your go-to place. So and those are things that we will not forget, right? It's a COVID shutdowns are, seared into our memory. And it created just all these convergences of so many different things, that on top of the lack of building homes for the better part of a decade. All these things hit at once and led to a fake market. And in that fake market, it was just complete FOMO. And the reason we got to start here today is I saw a lot of really good people. I saw their skills completely disappear the last 2 years. And I'm talking people I love, know, like, trust, people that are really close to me, coaching clients. And it's because for the last 2 years, you didn't have to be good. The question I always ask people is, how many times do you have to remind your clients or leads of why they were interested in doing something? You never had to influence people the last 2 years. It was just so much FOMO. If anything, you were like, hey, temper your optimism, slow it down. Well, now we're in the shift, right, Matt? And we went from that to the polar opposite. People, again, are afraid of salespeople.
Yep.
And then on top of that, they're also afraid of the market. So you have double the resistance.
Yep.
And what it really comes down to is, because all of this, that double resistance, man, people are struggling. You really have two experiences right now in real estate that we are seeing. One is things are kind of normal. You're chugging along at a normal pace. You might be down a little bit, right? Hitting your goal is pretty rare right now because, let's be real, in almost every market, total homes being sold is down 20-ish%, almost nationwide, if not more. Matt, if I had to guess, you guys are probably around that in Denver. Is that accurate? 21%. Okay. And you go to some other places, it's even worse, right? You go to some of the warmer cities, the Las Vegases, stuff like that. They might be down 30-ish% or maybe even more. The point, though, is really this, is we are seeing a lot of people struggle, because what happens when things get a little more scarce is people become more pushy, salesy, and manipulative. It's our natural inclination. When we get desperate, we get sales breath. And it's ironic because we're saying selling without selling. And if there's one core thing that I believe, Matt, I want to hear your thoughts on all of this. It's that nobody wants to be sold. They want to be heard, understood, and valued. And what it really comes down to is I actually don't think we should ever directly tell people what to do. I don't think that is what great salespeople do. When I studied the greatest salespeople, when I look at, frankly, the Eric Hatch of the world, that's a funny thing is I learned this from Eric. When I look at Jordan is one of the best salespeople in the world. When I look at those that are best, they almost never tell people what to do. Rather, they follow some very simple strategies. One, learn someone's truth. Two, speak truth, inform people of the facts. Three, tell stories and ask questions. How do they want to proceed? So I want to switch it up for a moment, Matt, because I could talk about this for far too long. Tell me, in your opinion, and you take as long as you want, my man, selling without selling, what the heck does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think you broke it down, Robby. So let's just go one by one. People want to be heard, not sold. In this day and age, across the board, even talking to your friends, we have lost the art of listening. Listening to understand, not listening to respond. We are all so dang good at listening to respond because we go into conversations with an agenda. What can I get from this person? Friends, if you're operating your real estate business like that, I promise you, as much as you can mask and conceal that, that will come out. Like, you cannot talk to people, text, call, email with an agenda. You have to listen to understand. So what does that look like practically? When somebody says, oh, I'm looking for a 3-bed, like just put it in the context of real estate, right? I'm looking for a 3-bedroom home in Denver.
Yep.
Most people skip right to, when do you want to move? When do you want to move? When do you want to move?
Yep.
Stop it. Back up. We need to back up. Hey, that's great. Robby, help me understand what's motivating you to make a move soon. Back it up. And Robby and I talk about this all the time, but motivation is the number one thing that you can learn about somebody. That's learning their truth, right? Motivation. Back it up. Can
I point something you just did, Matt, that's also so key? And it's such a little thing. When people say things, one of the things that helps, because you're spot on, going into motivation is key, also affirming and validating what they just said.
Yep.
It makes people feel like, oh, he heard the first thing I said. One of the things I've seen people struggle with, because one of the things we embrace when we are being Jedi masters of lead conversion is that the power of tell me more. But it's not just tell me more about that, Matt. Explain that a little bit further, Matt. It's, oh, Matt, that's really interesting. Matt, I totally hear that. Matt, I love what you're saying. Or I love that energy. When you throw in little compliments, validations, and affirmations, then pair it with what you just said, it is money. Anyways, I wanted to point that out because you did it. I don't even think you realize you do it.
Yeah. You have to affirm what somebody says when they say it. So especially when the stakes are high, when you know, like if I'm in a conversation with somebody and I know what they said isn't probably feasible, like we're probably all getting right now, oh, I want my monthly payment to be around $1,500 a month, and you know what they're looking for is completely out of that possibility and what they're putting down. You've gotten to that point in the conversation. I'm going to check just to make sure I heard them right. So Robby, if I'm hearing you right, you want your monthly payment to be around $1,500 and you're looking for a single family home with all of this stuff in it, whatever. Did I miss anything, or am I hearing you right?
Yeah, I mean, ideally.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Robby, on the scale 1 to 10, how honest do you want me to be with you?
I don't really know yet, but I guess a 10.
Okay. Well, thanks for permission to speak honestly, Robby. So what you're looking for and what you want your monthly payment to be, there's just some misalignment there. And I want to make sure that you are heading into this with good expectations. And so we do need to talk about that. Is that $1,500 a month? Is that what you're comfortable with? Is that your max? Like, tell me more about that.
Well, that's a number. When I typed it into a calculator, it kind of said what I could afford. So I just, I'm working off of that number. I mean, if we needed to, we're spending about $2,200 a month on rent right now, so we could
Okay.
go above that.
Okay. And how does that 2,200 a month feel for you right now?
I mean, we're making it work. I don't really like my rental,
Right.
and
Sure.
it's interesting thinking about 24,000 a year going out the window, but um, it's it's weatherable. I'd prefer less, frankly.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely understand that, Robbie, especially when you just said it, $24,000 a year going out the window. Um, let's flip that on its head, Robbie. If you could take that $24,000 a year and put it back in your pocket, how would that make that $2,200 a month feel now?
A lot better than 2,200 a month towards nothing, I suppose.
Okay. And Robbie, you gave me permission to be honest with you, and I'm being honest with you. I think if you're comfortable with that $2,200 a month payment, we can actually help you find the house you're looking for your family. So, but the difference is now the $24,000 is going back into your pocket. And one thing we've done to help folks just like you is show you exactly how that works and walk through the process of buying a home. So, what does next Tuesday look like for you to have a conversation with our team?
Yeah. All right. So let's pause so we can just keep going, right?
Yeah.
All right. I want to point out two things that are key here. Matt, you started with learning my truth, and you affirm, validated, open-ended. Obviously, we're going quicker. And Matt, how much did we know about what we were going to role play here? How much of this was planned?
That was completely off the cuff.
All off the cuff on both ends. He had no idea what I was going to say. I had no idea where he was going to take it. But what's really funny is almost every single one of Matt's conversations sounds like that. I almost guarantee it, where it's opening up. And then when you notice discrepancies, and this is actually probably the biggest thing, Matt, is when we notice people are being either irrational or there's conflicts, right? That's, I think, the biggest thing is there's conflicts. I want to spend this amount, but I want this. Well, they conflict with each other, which is normal. It's how humans work. What we're doing is we're not avoiding that. And that's what really crappy salespeople do, is they try to avoid it. Rather, you go straight at it. Hey, I got to be a truth teller. So you tell someone the truth. And then what you're doing is you're helping them self-discover a different pathway, a different opportunity. Now, Matt, I want you to maybe talk about how you would approach this differently if I wouldn't have said that piece about my rent actually being $2,200. Let's say that I said, well, we're paying about $1,500 a month in rent right now. How would you approach that? How would you respond to that differently? So let's just hop back into role playing, and I'm going to answer it, and you can just kind of vibe with it.
Okay.
Yeah, the 1,500 number kind of comes from that's what we're paying in rent right now. So I want to keep it around that price point.
Okay. I can understand that, Robbie. I'm trying to buy a house and keep the monthly payment the same, so you're not going to change much around in your family's finances. How does that $1,500 a month feel for your family right now and the feasibility?
I mean, it's really kind of pushing it, to be completely honest, but we're making it work.
Gotcha. So it feels like you're pushing it. Okay. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, Robbie, how honest do you want me to be with you?
I don't know. I'm kind of soft. I guess it depends on what you're about to say, but I guess honest.
Okay. Well, thanks for permission to be honest. We do need to talk about something here, Robbie, because what you just described to me, what you're looking for, that single family home with 3-bed, 2-bath, and what you're willing to pay for it, there's some misalignment in the feasibility on what that's going to be. And so I just want to be super clear. We can help either way, but we might need to just change some directions here. Is it really important to you? I guess what matters more to you at the end of the day? Helping your family, stopping to pay that rent payment that you're paying right now and actually owning something, or finding that home that's that perfect single family, 3-bed, 2-bath in this part of town?
Oh man. Honestly, probably staying within our budget. I just can't imagine going much above it. We're pushing it as it is. So I think going above where we're at right now would just be really, honestly, too painful for me.
Okay. But thanks for being honest with me too about that, Robbie. That really helps me learn where you're at. So if I'm hearing you right, it's more important to you to stay within your budget than to actually get the home of your dreams right now.
Yeah, I think so. We can maybe at some point upgrade, when our incomes go up, but once we save some more money, but I don't think that's a good idea right now.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Just my 2 cents. And here, can I tell you some good news, Robby?
Sure.
Yeah. So a lot of our clients that are in your similar shoes, that had to stay within their budget means right now, all they simply did was pivot what they were looking for. They stopped renting. They got out of the rental market. And by a year, two, maybe three, they were actually able to buy their next home and keep that same monthly payment that they had, because they had what you don't have right now, which is leverage and equity in their current home. And so if
Okay.
one of the things we could do, and one of the ways we've helped other people, Robby, is having a strategy conversation with an agent on the team. And what that basically means is we're going to walk you through, hey, today, here's what we need to shop for. But we're going to cast a vision for what that could look like 3, 2, maybe 4 years down the road to actually get your family into what you do want one day. And so, will you find some value in doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm I know nothing about this process, so I don't see any harm in that. What does that cost, and what does it commit me to?
Yeah, Robby, thanks for asking that. I'm glad you brought that up. So we do not charge anything for that consultation. Our hope is that you would work with us to find your next home. And at that point, actually the seller pays our commission. And so we're literally in your corner fighting for your family in this process. When we do find that house that we're going to write on, we're literally able to negotiate for you on your behalf, and seller pays our commission. So yeah.
All right, so let's pause again. Matt, there's so many little things that you're doing that I want to point out about this. One of my favorite books of all time that really is the core foundation of selling without selling, which I think is just influence, right? I think we could all agree that what Matt just did is he's a master of influencing me. Now, let's just be very, very real. I think that to yield this power, you have to be willing to always put what is in the best interest of the client above all else.
Mm-hmm.
If you want long-term business and opportunities, you could probably yield this and utilize what we're teaching in some really nasty, gross ways, right?
And people
and I just want to put exactly, you can abuse it. And I think the difference here is intent, right? Matt, if it's not in their best interest, you're gonna be the first person to say, and to be that person to say, from what I'm seeing, I see some red flags here. You're gonna point that out when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing some very, very simple things and I want to point it out that are so good. And it comes from a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, one of the OGs of self-help. And one of the skills that you're utilizing is something that he calls rephrasing and reflecting. If you want to increase your influence, you rephrase and reflect. Yep. And rephrasing is taking what they say, the content of what they've said, and saying it back in some way, shape, or form. Not usually repeating it, but rephrasing it. And as people are seeing, Matt, that's what you're doing throughout this conversation. But another big piece is reflecting. And reflecting means that you're willing to name feelings that people may be feeling. And I think this is one of the most powerful things that we can do. It sounds like, little statements like, it sounds like that'd be really stressful, right? Or it sounds like you'd be excited, or I can tell you're excited, or I heard you say you're anxious and you want to get out of here. Rephrasing and reflecting. Rephrasing is the content. Reflecting is the emotion in a conversation. And by doing this, what happens is you're showing somebody, hey, I really hear you and I understand you. And if you are wrong, they do this crazy thing. They correct you, right? If you rephrase that, well, it sounds like you're pretty frustrated. They'll correct you. Nah, I'm not really frustrated. I'm disappointed. They'll correct you. Now, if you're like, it sounds like you're really excited to, live in your current apartment, sound like a condescending a-hole, and that doesn't work.
Nope. Don't do that.
Don't do that. So that's the first thing I wanted to point out, Matt, that you were doing was you were phrasing really, really well and reflecting in moments. But the second thing you do is your storytelling. You're telling stories that help me remain optimistic. And Matt, so many people right now have lost hope as a salesperson. We've lost hope as the ISA. And we hear people say, well, I don't want to do something. We're like, all right, no problem. See ya. Bye. And what you did, Matt, is, hey, actually, there's some hope here. And by bringing that up, again, hope is a feeling. You're remaining optimistic. Hey, we can probably get something done. And of course, sometimes what happens, we sit down and meet and there's no chance they can.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not making that judgment call because there's no way from this conversation anyways, you're going to be able to notice that.
Yep.
So I think that's one of the biggest things, Matt, is we have to almost be the light in the darkness for people.
Yep.
We have to shine bright and be a beacon of light. Hey, here's the steps that you can take to make your thoughts come true. Let's help people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to say 3 things, Matt, you have no idea this question's coming. 3 things, and take a moment to think on it. What are 3 things people need to do to master selling without selling? 3 things we haven't discussed yet.
Mm-hmm.
To master selling without selling.
Yeah. We talked a lot about rephrasing, reframing. That's number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'd say storytelling.
Okay.
For sure.
Yep.
Give examples. Whenever, like, it's my goal to ask this question at least 10 to 15 times a day. So Robby, one thing we've done to help other folks just like you, and I paint a picture.
Yep.
Like, if you're not asking or not saying that at least once or twice a day, I promise you, like, you're probably not setting the appointment that you need to set. Like, you're not setting the expectation that you need to set. So tell a story. And even throughout it, one of my, and this is just personal, but I'll share it. One of my favorite like lead conversion conversations to have is credit repair. I know that sounds crazy. Like, why the heck would you want to talk to somebody who can't buy a house? Friends, that was me. 2.5 years ago, I had a 525 credit score, and I couldn't buy a house, and I had to claw my way back to being able to have a good credit score, have a down payment, and buy a house. And I have a house, and I'm grateful for that. But I had to work for that, and so I know from personal experience exactly what it takes to get somebody from where they're at to where they need to go. And I paint that picture. I use myself as an example. Friends, if you don't have like a powerful example like that, ask someone for permission to use theirs. You know somebody in your life with a powerful story like that. You know somebody that probably works on your team, or maybe it's you. Maybe what you actually need to do in this season is be vulnerable yourself with the people you're talking to. And guys, people love that because it's human. Like, it takes us from this weird person on the other end of the line, which, let's face it, like, if I don't know Robby, I call him out of the blue or I'm texting with him, he's like, who the heck is this dude? Like, but if we humanize our conversations, we have to find a way to do that. Storytelling is the biggest way to do that. So use your own example, use somebody else's example, find something, and make it real.
One more thing they can do, Matt, is they can use examples of people you've helped.
Yep. That's one of the best things you can do, because you're doing 2 things. You're painting a real world story, and you're without like sounding like an a-hole, you're giving yourself credibility. So and
not in a braggadocious way, not because you're not making it about you, you're making it about them. Yep.
So you have to be able to storytell. That's number 1. Number 2, truth telling. We haven't talked about that.
Yep.
Kind of hit on it. You have to be able to tell the truth. Even when the truth means that person is probably not able to do anything right now. Even when the truth means that you're risking that business relationship with that person. So I guess it's not only truth telling. That's a dual-edged sword, Robby.
Yeah.
It's truth telling and it's being detached from the outcome.
Oof. There you go.
It is being wholly and completely detached from the outcome of any conversation, meeting, open house, whatever it is. With anybody out there.
What does that mean, Matt? Detaching yourself from the outcome. Put that in a different way.
Sure. Detaching yourself from the outcome, and this is like the simplest thing that I can think of, is removing your emotional mindset from the outcome of a conversation with another human. Because let's be honest, when we set that appointment, or when we crush that buyer consult, that showing, when we sign that agreement, when we close that deal, like, we get something from that. And it's not just money. It's not just another client. It's actually like validating for us. And so down at the core, you have to separate what you do from who you are. And oh my gosh, like now we're getting into some like counseling stuff right here. If your identity and your like person, your humanity is wrapped up in the fact that you have to set 2 appointments today, or you are not worthy, you got to untangle that. That's what true detachment from the outcome is. And when we say that people want to be heard, not sold, people can hear you through the phone if that's your mentality. It really does come through. So, and that's probably a deeper journey for some of us. I know it's a deeper journey for me. I'm still on that, guys. I'm not like, there's no arrival point. I bet you Robby would tell you he is too. So, there is no arrival point at being that unwinding of like who we are from what we do. That's a lifelong work. But in order to sell, you have to do that. So it's another one.
I want to ask you a question on that real quick. I think that is probably one of the most brilliant things that has been said today, is you have to detach yourself from the outcome. You have to separate things. I want to ask you why. So what do you think happens when someone fails to do that? What if somebody is attached to the outcome? I have my thoughts, but I'd love to hear yours of what do you think that does to affect their lens or their point of view, or how they're hearing what people are saying? Like, how does it affect us as salespeople or service providers? How does it affect us when we're attached to that next sale or an appointment being set? What's it do?
Well, first of all, it shifts our perspective, our mindset to being others focused and serving others to serving ourselves. And last time I checked, the universe doesn't work like that. In order to, Jordan says this all the time, if you want to get to where you're going, you need to help other people get there first.
Some Zig Ziglar stuff right there.
The greatest people on planet Earth are the greatest servants. Like, you gotta be positioning yourself to serve others, and being attached to the outcome means you're serving yourself.
That's hitting some people today. Guaranteed, some are getting punched in the nose right now, getting some nosebleeds.
Just to rip the Band-Aid off even further, like, guys, this is the conversation. I think Robby and I've had this conversation like 15 times in our like relationship as a coach and mentee, and now as friends and business partners, and just people trying to help other people. Every day I wake up and I do 2 things. I read my Bible. So I do follow Jesus, but I'm not here to preach the gospel, but this is just a habit for me. And then the next thing is I have a daily mantra that I say for myself, that I speak over myself. And it ends with me writing down things that I'm grateful for. Gratitude will shift your perspective. So if you find yourself attached to the outcome right now, You need to make a discipline out of being grateful for the things that you have already, because in this, and especially right now, if you're listening to this, it is during the holiday season. Guess what we all focus on? Our Christmas list. What are we doing this? Bam, 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 bam. Like, what are we getting next? Guys, what if you flip that on its head? What if the holiday season, and frankly, your life, became more about what you could give to other people, what you could help other people with, and what you could get for yourself? Like,
It's funny because isn't that the spirit of Christmas?
that is
Like,
the spirit of
that's
Christmas.
literally the whole point of why it first started, was to
Yep.
give
To
abundantly.
give. And that is a lost art in this day and age, when you press 2 buttons on Amazon and your next thing is at your house in a day or two. Like, we have all gotten accustomed to the easy button, the customized things. And frankly, I'm going to say it, we are all entitled. We are all freaking entitled. And entitlement breeds self-service. And that will literally kill your business as a salesperson. When you feel like, I am entitled to this sale, when you feel like, no, this is who I am, like, I sell a lot of houses. No, friends, like, don't be so shallow in your human like frame. Like, you were meant for way more than selling houses, friends. Like, you were put on this earth for way more than that. So find it. Like, what is that? Like, what is your identity? And live in that rather than living in the outcome of like your daily performance. Because friends, I could go make 100 dials today. I could go make 250 dials today. I could set 10 appointments. I could set no appointments. But here's what I know, that I'm worthy, I'm loved, I'm accepted, and I live out of that. Like, that doesn't change. And that starts with a habit in the morning of me being grateful for what I have already. So
before you're getting in your conversations, Matt, I love all that. That's some fire there, buddy. Before you get into your conversations, you have to make sure you're in the right mental place before you step in and do any of that.
Absolutely. Guys, if you're going into work, if you're getting on your dialer, whatever it is, don't do that with a perspective of, I gotta do this. Do that with a perspective and an attitude, I'm grateful for X. And It doesn't even have to be the dialer. It doesn't even have to be the ability to call leads. Just go into it with a spirit of gratitude. I promise it'll shift your conversations. That one thing alone will shift your conversations.
So Matt, I love what you just brought up. It's so much good stuff. And I want to add some pieces to it. Another piece, and I love what you're saying with, we got to get in the right mindset. We got to let go of the attachment. The other big thing scientifically that all this is doing, let's put some science behind this as well, is this affects something known in psychology, in the brain and science, known as your RAS, your RAS, your reticular activating system. You see, one of the biggest things that I've realized about our life experience is a lot of our life experience is not dictated by what's happening to us. It's dictated by how we treat ourselves and the definitions we put on different things. And it's why 2 different people can go through the same thing, and one can become a victor and one can become a victim. And don't get me wrong, there is situations where someone is clearly victimized. That's not what I'm referring to here. I'm talking about when someone has said something about you and you slightly mishear it, and then you spiral and it becomes worse and worse and worse. Your RAS is basically a filter. Your brain is a filter. And the biggest reason I completely agree with what you're saying, Matt, is when you are attached to the outcome, you are desperate and you only seek out the options, and you will hear what you want to hear. You will literally, your lens is color or discolored, and you will see things differently. It's why I'll be very frank, man, there are some people out there that say there is no racism in the world. And I'm like, your lens is biasing your mind, my friends. It is clearly there. It is there. There are things that we believe, and our RAS can change how we see the world. And the problem in lead conversion, when it comes down to it, is we will when we're attached to the outcome, mishear, misunderstand, misinterpret, because we're not digging for truth anymore. We're digging for money. You're digging for yourself, and you won't see the truth. And the problem is if you want to actually influence people at the highest level, long-term, short-term, and long-term, nothing is more powerful than the truth. Nothing. Now, Matt, we got to transition this, right?
Yeah.
To one of my favorite things, and it was brought up yesterday in a conversation I was having. One of the biggest things that people say in sales is, well, Robby, buyers are liars. People just don't tell the truth. So, Matt, I'd love to hear your perspective. What do you think of the phrase buyers are liars? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Tell me your thoughts.
I 1050 to the infinity power disagree with that statement.
Well, that's bold, my friend. That's I don't even know how to put that number somewhere. Infinity, 1,000th degree.
Yeah, I'm saying disagree. It's impossible. It's not even a true state. You can't. Guys, when people don't feel like they can tell us their truth, it's because we haven't earned the right for them to tell us that. And it's probably because we're not asking the right questions to get there, or we're not listening to understand. We're listening to respond. People feel that. Like, one of the reasons, like, people, like, if you think back to if you're watching this right now, if you think back to like a hard conversation you've had with a friend, maybe you had to bring something up, or maybe they brought something up to you. It takes a lot of gumption to speak the truth.
Yep.
But what is established before truth is spoken is trust. And if you have not established the trust with that person, they could be telling you a story that they want you to hear because they don't want you to know their truth, because they don't trust you. So buyers are not liars. No. Salespeople don't know how to earn trust.
Facts. I put it this way, Matt, because I agree a bazillion % as well. People are simply reluctant truth tellers.
Yep.
Now, it's really interesting, Matt. I think right now, a lot of people, but I'm hearing so many people throw objections out there, and they're doing this. And again, for 2 years, nobody did. I think everybody, I'll be very frank, I've been using this analogy that for the last 2 years, we're in the fake market, we should say. Fish were jumping out of the water into our boats, and we thought we were really great at fishing. And we thought that we were really good. And now that the tide's gone out, we're seeing, Warren Buffett has always said, you don't know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out. Well, the tide's gone. And we're seeing some really ugly sights, some really interesting undergarments. But what I really believe is people lost a skill to disarm people, to earn trust, because you didn't need to. I even saw people like you, Matt, struggling with it, right? And others who it became more salesy. And just to be very clear, we all struggle with this. We all struggle with being attached to the outcome. But one of the biggest things that I firmly believe is what you just said, is that people are reluctant truth tellers because they're afraid of something. Now, in a normal real estate market, in the last couple of years, it's not been normal, right? A normal market would be like 2017, 18, 19, pre-COVID. That was what I would refer to as a normal market. In a normal market, people aren't really afraid of the market itself, right? There wasn't a ton of fear in 17, 18, 19. Nobody was like, oh my God, the world's going to come to an end. Interest rates are going to go down. Prices are too crazy. You just didn't really hear that. But they were still afraid, because I think people are afraid potentially of two things. One is the market, and you're hearing a lot of that right now, fear-based objections. I'm afraid of interest rates. I'm afraid the market's going to crash. I'm afraid 2007, 2008 is going to happen all again, right? They're afraid of the market. And it's because we are being reconditioned to a new market. We went from this really, really, really fun, sexy, glamorous market where everybody had FOMO. That's why the fish were jumping out of the water, to, oh my goodness, there's some fear. And the funny thing is, if you're actually wanting to make a good investment, the worst time to buy was in that stupid market. You're better waiting in most cases. But what's really interesting about this, what's so interesting about this market is they have fear of the market. And then the second thing they usually fear is a salesperson. They're afraid of us. And what's crazy is the last couple of years, they weren't. And it's because there was so much FOMO. It's almost like that fear missing out negated the fear of the salesperson. Just didn't matter. But now they're afraid of the market and the salesperson. And in a normal market, they're maybe not afraid of the market, but they're afraid of the salesperson. Mm-hmm. And bro, Jesus Christ could be calling the most devout Christians, and they would still fear Jesus Christ, the salesperson, Jesus Christ, the ISA. They still would. Because what we need to recognize is that outside the fake market, people are afraid of being sold something that they don't want. They're afraid of being forced or feeling compelled to buy something they don't want or desire. And Matt, one of my favorite books about selling is To Sell is Human by Dan Pink. And he has a chart that shows the words that the average person uses to describe salespeople. And here's the top 5 words. Everybody should maybe write these down. Okay.
Oh dear.
Okay. Loving, hardworking, patient, trusting. I am lying to you all. You see, the top 5 words that people actually use to describe salespeople are annoying, sleazy, gross, disgusting, pushy. That's when you're first reaching out, that's who they think you are. And what's really funny about this, Matt, is if somebody goes and buys a vehicle, any of these people that are salespeople in real estate, or if they're in furniture sales or whatever, if we're going to go buy furniture, I should say, we could walk into a furniture sales store and know 100% we're going to buy a bedroom set. But when that person walks up to us and they say, hey, well, what brought you out today? What are you interested in? What do we all say?
I'm just looking.
I'm just looking. Now, in the sense, this is the biggest thing, Matt. This is why I hate buyers or liars. It would be like me telling my daughter because she lies once that she's a liar. It's one of the worst things that you can do is use an action to define a person or a whole subset of people. Don't get me started on that crap. You see, rather, buyers are not liars, but buyers sometimes leave out the truth. I will agree with that. Sometimes buyers do put a mirage up. Oh, I'm just looking, which is partially true. You see, this is what I've learned about people, man, and tell me if you agree with this, is people are reluctant truth tellers. They give you pieces of the truth. They don't come out and say, hey, this is nothing but the truth and the whole truth. This is not a damn courtroom for them. They're not coming out and just vomiting out. No, they're afraid. So what do? They withhold the truth until when? Until, as Matt said, they feel like they can trust you. Well, how do you build trust? Do you build trust by being attached to the outcome? Do you build trust by always selling, pushing? No. You do the opposite of what they expect. You see, they're expecting to be pushy, salesy, manipulative. If you want to sell without selling, it's very, very simple. You listen first. And then you speak the truth without being attached to the outcome. And you storytell and rephrase and reflect. And you take all the dang things that Matt primarily has been saying today, and you utilize that. Mm-hmm. Matt, how often do you sell people on what they should do?
Never.
Yet you're probably the best influencer, and it's just natural to you. You could go into any sales job and
until somebody gives you a permission. Like if they ask me, like, hey, what would you do in this situation?
Ooh, talk about that a little bit more for a second. That's some cash.
So I think when we don't earn trust, we think we have to earn trust by like just throwing facts at people and all of this stuff. And that's not the way to build trust. The way to build trust is to listen. And here's a really good indicator that you know you've built really good trust and rapport. They're asking you, ooh, hey, if you were me, what would you do? So one of the things that drives a real estate agent crazy, right? The buyer's dad shows up to inspection, right? That age old, like, the age old thing. Why do they do that? Because they trust him more than they trust you. Oh,
Yep.
shoot. Like, I just said it. Like, they trust him more than they trust you. And yeah, should they? Probably. Just by
dang right they should.
It's their dad.
Yeah.
So stop being not okay with that, but start recognizing, hey, like, I love that your dad's coming to inspection and welcome it. Because I can tell you really trust him.
Mm.
Can you tell me why do you trust your dad? I'd love to know. Like, ask about it. Like, guys, like we got to stop like thinking the earning trust is just throwing a bunch of facts and numbers at people and getting them like, oh, they're smart. You should work with them. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. You gotta listen. You got to listen to understand. You got to learn the motivation, all that stuff we just talked about. But yeah, you got to do those things. Or yeah, you're gonna sound like one of those salesy people at the furniture store who wants to sell a bed frame today.
And what do you think? What do you think is going to happen to those people, Matt? People that their root is pushing, selling, telling people to do things. What's going to happen to them in this industry over the next couple of years?
I think, especially with the way our world is today, we're going to see a lot of people quitting. Let's just talk about real estate because that's the world that we live in right now.
Yep.
The current fail rate for a first-year agent is 88%. Wouldn't be surprised if you see that up at 95.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really don't. We're going to see a lot of people quitting. We're going to see a lot of people leaving. We're going to see a lot of people getting out of this business. And there's two ways to look at that. There's a man, did they have the right accountability structure and systems around them to help them succeed? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can simply do the things that nobody else is doing, which nobody else is listening to understand, nobody else is reframing, nobody else is telling stories, nobody else is detached from the outcome. If you can simply do that in this next season, I promise you, you will get your unfair share because there's plenty of it to go around.
I want to ask a question on that, Matt. Do you know one person who's good at all the things that we just said?
No.
Who has failed in any type of sales or influence or leadership role?
Yeah, me.
Yeah. And you're doing all right.
Yeah.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And what I mean by failure is failure to the point where you literally drop out of the game.
Yep.
And that's where it is. It's to tie this all together, put a bow on it, like you said. I think people as well. I think we're going to see an exodus of 40 to 50% of real estate agents.
Yep.
I really do. Give or take. And it's really interesting because a lot of people get afraid of that, and I get excited about it. I hated the fake market. I hated it. First off, you want to talk about buyer's remorse? Go look at the people that bought a home the last couple of years. They got 80% of what they wanted and settled. They had no options and no power. Their interest rate is baller, no doubt about it. But their house itself isn't going to fit a lot of their criteria. But more importantly, as a salespeople, it is more difficult to win in an easy market, and it's easier to win in a difficult market because it's tough to stand out when nobody need to be reminded or influenced the last couple of years. Well, influence is everything again. You have to consistently be reminding people. And as you said, Matt, I think it all comes down to mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit there and whine and complain about that, or you can embrace it. Oh, your dad wants to come with? Super cool. I love that. Tell me about your dad. Do little stuff like that. It's validating and affirming. Stop resisting, friends. That's where so many people are going wrong, is when you're attached to the outcome, when you're attached to things, when you don't want that dad to come with, we resist. And y'all suffering comes from resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Allow it to be and embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, their dad comes along and he points out some things. Get him on your side. When he walks up, hey, I've heard great things about you. Whatever their name is.
Mm-hmm.
Win him over. Get him on your side.
Mm-hmm.
Stop resisting, stop yelling, stop being attached, and do the simplest dang thing in the world is put service at the core of everything you do. Because what's really funny about this, Matt, is nobody on this call today is a salesperson. You might be called a salesperson, but none of y'all are, unless you are a builder and you are building homes and you're selling your own product. You're not selling a product. You are in the service industry. You are helping people make decisions. And the people that are going to be around, zero doubt in my mind, at the end of this whole shift, 6 months from now, who are going to be able to play in a market where there's going to be roughly the same amount of sales there are today, but half the people, which, by the way, that is actually a more fun market than the fake market of the last 2 years. Those people are going to be doing everything you just said, Matt. Rephrasing, reflecting, storytelling, helping people self-discover, affirming, validating, asking open-ended questions, listening to understand. Dude, you brought so much heat today. And I feel bad for any ISA that didn't hear this. Any salesperson didn't hear this today.
Well, good news is it's on the internet and the internet's forever. So you can go back and listen to it.
Yep.
Yeah. If you want to survive this next season of our market, because friends, it ain't going away. Like, it's probably only going to get harder. Which means, we said at the beginning of the year, right, Robby, we have to triple down on empathy. We have to triple down on listening skills. That's the same is true today. And now it's even more true. So, and each of you are going to have your own way of doing this. Don't try to sound like me or Robby, because it will sound inauthentic. Like, be you. But the principles are what matter. So.
100%. Do it your own way. Let's do this, Matt. I think we got to have you back on, man, because there's so many things we didn't even scratch today, like mirroring and matching, adapting our conversations to people, being empathetic. We could rip on this for far too long, so we'll have to do another one of these sometime.
Yeah.
As always, friends, appreciate you coming and listening. Make sure if you found value in this, share it with your team. Get them to listen to this. Matt and I love giving value. It's a core component of our lives. The biggest, you said something earlier, man, that stood out. All of us are entitled, and this world don't owe us shit. You got to go earn it. So we'll wrap there. Let's actually, before we do that, let's answer some questions here real quick. You got a minute or so, Matt? You can say.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So somebody had asked, I'm my own ISA for now. I feel like I'm getting really good at disarming people and keeping the conversations going and establishing friendships, even with people I've never met. But I wonder if I'm bringing up real estate too little in some cases. I'll be very frank. Notice that Matt wasn't simply talking about all this stuff outside real estate. You're using the real estate conversation to gain clarity. And far too many people think that building rapport, building relationship means talking about only recreation, talking about where their work is. And actually, I think for the most part, you can be talking real estate and build a ton of trust with people. You want to chime in on that, Matt?
Yeah. I can definitely understand feeling like, hey, I'm a real estate professional, so I should talk about real estate. Use the real estate vehicle to get into building a relationship with somebody.
Yep.
And when you think about a friendship that you have, you probably didn't win that friend over or didn't earn that relationship or whatever. You didn't build trust in that relationship by coming and approaching them with, oh, I'm like a great person, I will always show up and blah, blah, blah. You didn't talk about that. You got to know them. And so that's the principle. Like, you're in the relationship business. If you're a real estate professional, ISA agent, team leader, whoever, like, you are in the relationship business. You have to build relationships. You don't build relationships by throwing numbers at people and showing them how smart you are. You build relationships by getting to know them. So,
amen, bro. I love it. Use real estate, get them talking about themselves and what they want in real estate. I think it's very rare that, especially in the early part of the conversation, you should be telling them about real estate. I think that actually backfires because it comes across as salesy. Good stuff. Someone asked if I'm a DISC personality, a C, how do you adapt storytelling to make me become impatient? I think what this is probably getting at is how we can mirror match. We can answer or mirror match people. When someone's more direct, for example, your storytelling is going to be more direct, more to the point. If you're talking to a high I, it's going to be more, and an S is going to be more wordy. And a high C, I think it can be a little more detail oriented because high C's appreciate details. But I think we got to do a whole episode on mirroring and matching and empathy. So,
Yep.
All right.
I agree.
Let's see here. Andy says, to me, it means genuinely behaving like you want to help them, even if that means you losing out completely.
Being detached from the outcome.
Exactly what attachment outcome is. Losing attachment to the outcome. Spot on. Matt, anything else you want to say to the remaining crowd and our future listeners?
Be grateful for what you have, because the universe doesn't owe you anything, but what you have is special. And realize that there are a lot of people, especially in this season, that are going to hurt through the holidays. And what if you took this season for yourself? Because I'm guessing if you're in real estate and you're selling houses, you're doing well for yourself. Go give to somebody that's not maybe not as fortunate as you, maybe that needs some help. One of the things we're doing as a company this Christmas is we're choosing one family, and we're going to literally buy them a house cash.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
So go change somebody's life, and you can do that together. You pull people together, and you can do that. That speaks volumes more than I sold 300 homes this year.
The funny thing about that, Matt, is at the end of the day, what are you going to remember more? A couple extra dollars, or those moments where you're able to help others?
Yep.
It's huge, man. I think it brings massive peace and joy to the heart by giving.
Go give.
Oh, go ahead.
I said, go give.
Go give. Love it, Matt. We'll end there. Love you all. Go share this with people that need to hear it. Share it with your teams, ISAs, friends, all that good stuff. Much love, y'all.
Robbie.
See you, Matt. Love you, man. Bye.